So, you've come to me to learn about geocaching. Well, I am no expert, but I have seen a lot of things, and I'm happy to share with you these things, which is why today I am in a local park. But first, before we get to the fun, adventure-y treasure hunting bit, I want to give you guys a couple basic things, introduce you to kind of how it works, and some safety tips. Now, first and foremost, geocaching is a game. It is for fun, but doesn't mean you get to do things you're not supposed to do. So don't ever go past places that say no trespassing, stay off of roads where cars are, follow all standard rules and laws. Next up, geocaching has a bit of a reputation to some people, and other people have no idea what it is. You'll notice in the app that we often refer to people who don't play geocaching as muggles. Muggles is a term used in Harry Potter for non-magical people. Muggles used in geocaching just means people who don't geocache. So that would be anyone else that's at a place like a park, or if you're in a parking lot looking for a geocache that is not geocaching, and you just want to go ahead and assume that nobody knows what geocaching is doing. So when people say there's muggles nearby, you gotta be sneaky. But if someone sees what you're doing and asks you and you find out you're not that sneaky, whatever, that's okay. Just tell them. A lot of times they're mainly just curious because you're probably doing really weird things like feeling every piece of bark on a tree or tapping on a sign or something trying to find the geocache, and they want to make sure you're not crazy. So just tell them what you're doing. Tell them it's geocaching. If they don't know what that is, just say treasure hunting. Next up, not every geocache has treasure. A lot of geocaches I found, I would say more than half, are very small. They come in things as big as about that I can magnetize to my ring. That's how tiny they are. And all they have in them is a piece of paper. Up to about this big, those are called bison tubes or bullet tubes, depending on what you see in the geocaching app. They're usually small metal tubes, and I'll be showing you some of those today. They come in varying sizes. Those just have a thing called a log. A log is just a piece of paper that you sign your name and the date on to show that you found it. There are a lot of geocaches with treasure in them. Fun things, toys, rings, games, money. Biggest rule about if you want treasure from a geocache is you have to have something to swap for it. You can't just take something and be like, oh, this is mine now. You need to make sure that if you're taking something out of a geocache, you're leaving something else. My next safety tip is a lot of geocaches are in woods or in grassy areas or in trees. I always recommend that if you're going out into the woods, you wear pants and long sleeves. You need to use bug spray, especially if you're going out into wooded areas. Also make sure you're wearing closed-toed shoes. And usually in the attributes, it also will warn you if there's poisonous plants in the area, if there's bugs. Sometimes those will have warnings in there to let you know. But next, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you a few different standard types of geocaches. Alright, so let's go. We're going to start geocaching today in North River Hills Park. It's a pretty standard, easy park. And the first one we're going to go for is actually over here. You're going to tap your finger on the bottom. It's going to open up everything you need to know about it. This one's called To the Shores of Tripoli. It's a 1.5 difficulty. It's a 1.5 terrain. And it's a size micro. This one has a description. I'm going to tap on the description. It explains a little bit. Usually they can be telling you a little story about the geocache's name, honoring someone who's found a lot of geocaches, a lot of various things. This one kind of talks about a story about why they named the geocache the way it was, so it's not actually going to help us find it. So I'm going to go back. Use hints if you want to. This one was placed 10 years ago this fall. A lot of geocaches, the oldest one I found was placed 24 years ago, so some of them have been active for a very long time. Activity found on May 2nd. This is the one you want to check to make sure people have been finding it, make sure it's still there. You go through, make sure people have been finding it. One person didn't, but everybody else seems to be finding it. That's what you want to make sure you double check. I'm going to press this navigate button. Now this is the standard screen that's going to open up. You're going to make sure you're walking following this orange line. But you're not going to be able to walk straight there because you can kind of see if I were to walk straight there, I'd walk through trees and tall grass. I'm in the middle of a soccer field right now, but typically you'd probably want to take this bike path right over to the right. Like this. You kind of trail along there and go this way till you got to it. That's a pretty standard way to go there. I'm going to go up a little trail up onto the bike path in a moment, but that's what most people use when they do this, is this. you kind of watch as at the top too, where it says 0.1 miles, that'll get smaller and smaller as you get closer to it. Your arrow will turn to show which direction you're facing. Now I'm facing most of the soccer fields. Now I'm facing, there's a playground over there. Now I'm facing where I'm walking, and this way I'm facing the geocache. It's 500 some feet away. You're going to want to use this compass that comes with the app. So the compass will adjust every time you're tracking a geocache. The orange part of it is the direction you want to be heading. That's where the geocache is. Just like how over here the line is orange to direct you to a geocache, your compass is orange to direct you to the geocache. It also has your cardinal directions on it. So right now I'm walking south, but my geocache is east. At the very bottom of this, it has your location on the left and where you're going on the right. So what you're going to want to notice about that is as we get closer to it, it's still going to show you how close you are at the top, but you want to watch as these numbers get closer together and they start to match. Dodging back to tracking where I am, you'll see that I'm following this path because that's what makes the most sense. It's leading me in that same direction again. Just got to follow the compass. Now, if you're walking towards the geocache right now, like I am, this is the path that you saw in the overhead video. You're going to make sure that where you're going makes sense. So earlier I was down there in that soccer field, and if I would have followed the straight path to the geocache, I would have walked through all of this, and there's probably burrs in there and other nasty things. You don't want to go that way. Following from over here, there was a path that came this way, and you go this way and follow towards the geocache. As we get within 30 feet, the coordinates are locked onto one thing, usually a tree, sometimes a bench, but they have to pick one thing. It's not exactly where the geocache is. You got to keep that in mind, because if you're looking exactly where you think the coordinates should lead to, you're probably not going to find it. They don't do them exactly, they just lead you close to it, and then you have to search. It's not always the most accurate when you get closer. And you can tell by this map, I can't even zoom in anymore. I must be really close to the geocache. It's pointing to a tree that's right in front of me. And if I look here, it should do the same thing. It's pointing me this direction. So this is one of the most standard geocaches out there. This one is in a pine tree. Beware, pine trees can hurt you. I hope no one comes along this path and sees me doing this. Alright, so after I searched with both my hands for a few moments, I finally found it. It is in a different spot, but I finally spotted it. You see that little canister in there? That is our geocache. This is our geocache. Pretty typical. Oh, there's more muggles coming. Great. Typically covered in duct tape, so it really blends in. This one came with a nice hook on the top to hook in the tree. Here's the geocache we found. Now, geocaches, this is pretty standard once again, but they can be tricky to open on occasion. So I've come across a couple that were literal puzzles that you had to move in a certain direction to open them. This one's not too tricky. You flip this latch over here. The canister adjusts. Ta-da! So this is the log. This is where you sign the date and your username or your name. We've got a few goodies in here, a little M&M guy and a playing card. You've signed the log. You're going to make sure and close it back up and put it back where you found it. Try to get it as close to exact to where you found it as you can. Sometimes that's a little too tricky. Just try to make sure it's well hidden so other people don't find it. So now that I've tucked that one back in the tree, we're going to go for our next one. It's going to be a higher difficulty. After you find a geocache, make sure that you go ahead and hit this log button. And when you open that up, it'll tell you to either put found, DNF, or write a note. I've already found it, so I can't log that I found it again. My little Sheester's cache. Opening it up. This is a 3.5 difficulty, and I can tell you that definitely matches. It took me 3 tries coming back to it and leaving, 3 different days trying to find this one. 2.5 terrain makes sense because it is in the middle of the woods on a hill. It's a little tricky to stand there. You're following this orange line. You're gonna follow where the orange side is. Get the orange side pointed towards the top of your phone, and that way you know you're heading in the right direction. Looks like we're heading west for this one. Once again, you can double check the numbers on the bottom. You can also enter those in different apps, and that'll also help you direct your way towards them. And you can watch the feet count down at the top to know you're going the right direction. All right. So as we get closer to this geocache, I've come to the point where it just points into the woods. Here are the woods. You don't want to just walk straight towards it once again. You want to find ways to get there that are easier. This time, we're going to leave our path for this little dirt path, so I'm going to go ahead and follow this dirt path. This is why the rating is higher on terrain. This is a very steep hill, and the geocache is in this general area. Once you get within 30 feet of it, once again, whether using the compass or using the direct GPS route, you want to make sure, turn that phone off, start looking high and low. This one's pretty hard. Here's our bison tube. You're not going to want to pull it off this. It's a hole that's been drilled to keep this geocache here. These typically twist open. Sometimes they're a little rusty. This one just twists open at the top. Not where that seam is. Inside is usually a little plastic bag with a piece of paper in it. I'm not going to take it all the way out right now, but that's your piece of paper you sign, and you put everything back nice and neat because we don't want water getting in there. That's why they're in a plastic bag. Twisting it back up and putting it back where it's supposed to be. On to our next one, which we're going to go to one that's camouflaged, and we're going to go to an interesting one next. Next geocache we're going after is a camouflaged one over here. Walk towards the orange line, or walk towards where the orange portion of the compass is pointing. And I'm moving it to show you how it moves, but watch the feet go down, follow. Now this geocache has led me to a very interesting spot. The park that I'm at, if you guys want to try and find the geocaches here, is called North River Hills Park. It's in Burnsville. And this is where our camouflage geocache is going to be. I've come across a few that are just like this and a few that are quite different. So it led me to this. If you want to search around, I've seen fake bricks, I've seen fake rocks, I've seen tiny little Christmas trees, I've seen lots of strange things. So make sure you're looking around, feeling around. Typically geocaches containers and what they are will be mostly visible, except for like with the stick example. A lot of times people put in a lot of effort to make geocaches. Sometimes they're bolts like this, you pull and the geocache is underneath there. You notice this little electric thing right here? There's no reason for this sign to have electricity. This is a very clever way to hide things. Muggles won't even notice that one. Now, we're gonna go to this one over here. 1.5 difficulty, 1.5 terrain, 200 some feet away. Same thing with the compass, it adjusts, head towards the orange. Always double check that your phone is adjusted before going after a geocache so you're not walking in the wrong direction. So I'm going to show you, this is the grouping of pine trees that the geocache is pointing towards. And there's actually another sign on the other side. Sometimes you end up in very scratchy areas. And it's not the funnest. Oh, another thing I never said earlier. 1, carry water. That was the sound of my water bottle getting stuck. But 2, put your hair up if you have long hair because it gets stuck on things. Pull this down. A little pulley system. If you want more information on the niche stuff about geocaching, please be sure to let me know, send me a message, comment about this, and I'll be sure to tell you all about trackables, all about TOTT, UV ones, as well as like placing geocaches, multi-caches, mystery caches, earth caches. That's mainly for people who buy the full package. It's like $30 for the full year to have access to all geocaches on the geocaching app. I'm still a beginner in terms of geocaching, and I still fail occasionally. But that's the most important thing I want you guys to remember is even when you can't find a geocache and you have to give up, it's okay. I do it all the time. Literally all the time. It makes me really mad. It makes me sad, but I know I'll come back and I'll find it eventually. Hope you guys have fun, and I hope you find lots of cool stuff and you live to tell really cool stories. Like about mushroom geocaches and pinecone geocaches and leaf geocaches and tiny Christmas tree geocaches. And I heard there's a TARDIS geocache in Wisconsin. And yeah, I'm done talking. My phone's gonna run out of memory. Goodbye! Oh, there's someone coming. Oh, that's weird. Okay, so now we've encountered a wild muggle. I'm gonna walk this way a bit. Oh, this is a nice tree. I like this tree. Very woody. Yes. Very nice. We like. Yes. Oh, there's gonna be bloopers to this video. Thanks for getting me out of the house, Professor X. Apparently, the Powerpuff Girls inventor was here. There's a hole in the tree right there. This stick, when you pull it out, oh no, the geocache isn't there. I thank you guys for coming with me on this journey. If you've watched this video, oh, if you want, that was let's get out of